Hey everybody, GC13 here. One of the central themes of Steven Universe is forgiveness. That holding a grudge will only hurt you, and it's better to try to move on into the future. While he forgives most people though, Steven can't forgive everyone. For whatever reason, he can't bring himself to forgive the diamonds. White, yellow, blue, and pink. He finds himself in good company though. There's a sizable section of the fandom that can't forgive the diamonds either. In the interest of unity, I'd like to move past that, and focus on someone that Steven and we all have forgiven. A little someone named Lapis Lazuli. What was meant to be a short trip to Earth for Lapis became quite long indeed. Mistaken for a rebel and placed in a mirror so she could be interrogated, Lapis was left behind when Homeworld fled the planet, and was eventually recovered by the Crystal Gems, who saw no reason to free her. Now, to be fair to the Crystal Gems, the first thing Lapis did after being freed was try to flee back to Homeworld, taking the Earth's oceans with her. Her plan was doomed to fail, of course, just like all life on Earth would be doomed to die without the oceans. Thankfully, she was persuaded to stop by Steven, saving the Earth once more. Of course, Steven wasn't able to get Lapis to listen to him at first. There was a fight. While one clone was able to hold Garnet at bay, and two were enough to keep Pearl busy, Lapis's clone of Amethyst was able to best our scrappy purple warrior. But Lapis is no Quartz. While she respects strength, she doesn't have the brutal instinct to shatter a fallen enemy. Amethyst was kept tied up for the duration of the fight, completely unharmed, although it was easily within Lapis's power to shatter her. For all of her anger at the Crystal Gems, she didn't want to do them any more harm than was necessary for her to escape. That courtesy didn't extend to humans, though. When Steven and Connie, neither trained as fighters this early in the series, shoot a water gun and throw a rock at Lapis's water clone of Steven, its reaction is severe. It immediately encases both of their heads in water, attempting to drown them. And Lapis did understand what she was doing. Much later in the series, when she has to restrain gems, she encases their entire bodies, not just their heads. The only reason she has to limit her bubbles to Steven and Connie's heads is because that's all she needs to cover to kill them, and they're too weak to resist if their limbs are left to flail. I should point out that Steven was a human that Lapis actually liked. If Amethyst was able to chuck a huge boulder at her clone, only for it to respond by taunting her, Lapis drowning Steven and Connie because they pretend like they can fight, says a lot about how she feels about non-gem life. Even after Steven displays enough power to pique Lapis's interest, and then heals her so she can fly away, she displays no regard for Steven or the humans he brought with him. Sure, after he healed her, she's probably pretty sure he's actually Rose Quartz, meaning he can survive that fall easily, but she has no reason to think that Connie or Greg can survive the collapse of the tower, especially if Steven won't hit the ground to protect them until the last of the water does. No, Lapis doesn't think about them, because she just doesn't care. If you only look at the events of Ocean Gem, the fandom's acceptance of Lapis is quite generous. She's proven willing to doom an entire planet full of life for even the slimmest chance of her leaving it, and attempted to kill two beloved characters who posed no threat to her. But, just like how Steven isn't thinking about any of that at the time, neither is the viewer. Ocean Gem isn't the first we've seen of Lapis. Mirror Gem is. We saw Lapis break her silence to warn Steven. Even if she was just trying to protect herself from another trampling, we still see it as a kind act. The episode carries on, and we see Steven befriend her. We see her fear of the Crystal Gems, just as justified as their fear of her. When Steven releases her, she's grateful, not just for her freedom, but for him actually caring about her as a person. Their friendship wasn't a charade, it was Lapis reaching out to the first person to see her as something other than an object in thousands of years. That's the context Ocean Gem takes place in. A character we already like, who is desperate for understandable reasons. She keeps this up for most of the series. She calls Steven to warn him about Peridot and Jasper, but when Steven finds her, she's trapped and too scared to fight. She protects Steven and his friends from Jasper for months by locking her up into Malachite, but in the end all she accomplishes is giving her power to Jasper to use in the fight against Alexandrite. Finally free of that toxic fusion, she's understandably upset at Peridot, who by this point the audience knows to be fully reformed, but is willing to protect her in the end. Their relationship will go on to provide Lapis with the opportunities she'll need to grow as a person. By the time Connie meets Lapis face to face for the first time in the new Crystal Gems, Lapis's behavior in Ocean Gem is a punchline.
You almost drowned me when you tried to steal the world's water?
I almost drowned a lot of people.
That means, oh, sorry, in Lapisese. When you see a character who's vulnerable, when you see a character who's desperate, you can overlook them doing some pretty bad stuff. If the first we'd ever seen of Lapis was Ocean Gem, then Steven's ability to completely ignore how Lapis tried to kill him and Connie would have been remarkable. Since Mirror Gem had already built her up as a vulnerable, desperate character, however, you scarcely notice how immediately he forgives her for everything. You just want everyone to be happy. And thankfully, Steven is able to pull it off in the end. Always believe in Steven. How did you feel when you first watched Ocean Gem? Were you rooting for Lapis by the time Steven made it up to the top of that tower, or did you take more time to warm up to her? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more cartoon videos.